I've decided to slightly change my design here with, instead of having the four bolts going down through into the frame, I'm going to have one at the back here and then just a locator hook at the very front so that I can put the seat in and then drop it down into the back one, and then only have one nut to undo to take the seat off. Because if I need to take that tank off, rather than having to get under there and undo four nuts, I just only need to undo the one and then I can pull it apart, a bit like a standard motorcycle would normally have. I just had this in my head and I decided to do it because I just wanted the added strength. But then I'm gonna make this a lot thicker. I'm gonna do another couple of layers on top of this to give this a bit more strength, so then I'll only need the one at the back and the locator at the front. Yeah, just something that I decided to change, and there's no real reason why I can't. Those little holes will be filled up and you'll never know that they're there once I re-fiberglass, so there's no real drama. And yeah, I'm just going to try and work out how to get the foam the way I want. That's foam. This is like a high density foam. I believe you can sand it. I've never really tried to do this before. However, the place that I bought this from said this is the stuff that is used for Harley Davidson seats, how they refoam them. It's the same quality foam that they use, the same density. And I put it up there and I sat on it, and it's actually quite comfortable. To feel it, it's quite hard. Like, it's a real high density sort of foam. Well, not really high density. It's harder than a standard, like this kind of stuff that you would see in upholstery places. It's a lot harder than that. Yeah, so I just decided that I would give it a go with a flapper disc. It's an 80 grit flapper disc, and I just touched the corner there, as you can see, and it's kind of, yeah, it works really well, like almost too well. Almost like you've got to be taking care that you don't go too deep, too fast. Just take small sections at a time, because it came off real fast. And I'm assuming that this would work with most foams, but the higher the density, the easier I'm sure it will grind. So yeah, if you plan on making a seat or saddle for any bike, then yeah, try this kind of stuff. If you can, get a test piece first so you can see what it's like before, or get a bigger piece than you actually need so you can try a little bit. Otherwise, you could end up having to do it twice, and no one really wants to do that. Like, I don't really want to mount this to the fiberglass, but I kind of have to. I have to glue it to the fiberglass first, and then cut around the shape that I want, and then go around with the grinder and just get that nice shape. But if I make a mistake, that means I have to cut it all off the fiberglass again and start again, which is a bit of a pain in the arse. So I've spent a little bit of time trying to fit this tank and get the tank, the two posts that hold the rubbers up inside there, to get it perfectly level. And the reason for that is because my tolerance from the top of the tank here to the top of the head is so small to try and get that line perfect across the top of this, that I didn't want, if I was leaning on the tank, I didn't want it to touch in any way once it's all painted up. So I've just spent quite a few hours trying to get that right. I mounted them and then sat on it, leaned on it, and it had a little bit of tank slap or tank wobble. So I just spent some time trying to get it right. And now that it's all perfect and it's all mounted, I've put a bolt in here and mounted that. And I've also just made myself a little bracket to fit to this, just a locator, I guess, that just slides in and just locks that in place. And this just falls in place there. So I've taken those four out and replaced it with just the one at the back, because that's all it needs. Just needs somewhere to locate at the front and the back, and then that way
if I ever need to do anything with the seat, take the seat off, take the tank off, it's just one bolt there and one bolt there, and it's pretty much out.
All I've done at the moment is, you probably saw that I have taken the badges off, I've painted the tank black, I sand back a little bit of the paint, a little bit of the rust, just to get it looking a little bit better. But I'm going to do it properly and strip it back to bare metal. But for now, I just wanted to do it to get a look, to see what's happening. Now I've carved that seat as best as I can, and I'm really happy with the shape of it, the rounding of the edges, how it sort of sits, and kind of stood back and went, you know what, that's a real fat seat for a cafe racer. It doesn't look right to me. It needs to be thinner, and I'm gonna have to put like a cover over the top of it, like a leather or vinyl or whatever I do, and it's gonna have the stitching in it, which is gonna give it a bit more puffiness, and it's gonna be even fatter than that. So I was like, I'm not happy. I really want to make it thinner. So what was my next option? Well, I went down to an upholstery place and I spoke to the guys down there, and I said, look, this is what I've got, I'm not happy with it, I've sat on it and it's okay, you can still sort of feel the fiberglass base when you sit on it, but he goes, well, your next step from that is this stuff, which is like a pink foam. I mean, I know some of the guys in the States are using that re-glued multicolored foam, which is cool, but it's just not available here in Australia. I've asked a few places and they just haven't seen it for years. So right now I'm in the process of, I'm about to cut this off. It's a shame because I really like it, but it's just too thick. It's just not going with what I want. If I make a mistake, that means I have to cut it all off the fiberglass again and start again, which is a bit of a pain in the arse. So a pink seat it is for now, pink foam, and then I'm going to get some custom upholstery done on it. I was going to do that myself, but for the first one I think I'll just source that out to somebody and get an idea on how they're going to do it, and then may do the next one myself, see how we go. But the only downside to doing this is if I take this off one-handed, you can see that I was kind of happy that it covered all this up and it sort of hid all that messiness from the tank. It's kind of a funny looking design. By me putting a thinner foam on there is only going to go halfway up to that, and I'm going to have this all exposed. So whether I cap it or do something there. I don't know. I could run the foam up and get the material, but then it's going to take away from that look that I was looking for, keeping it flat. Anyway, this is what it is. It's a custom job, a custom bike. You come up with things that are unusual and you got to try and figure it out. So it's half the fun. So anyway, that's it for this seat chat, and I'll get into it. I just cut a small piece of this foam, the pink stuff, and sat it on a bit of timber. It sat up on top of that, and the difference is incredible. Like, this is, it doesn't feel much harder, but when you spread the weight out and then you actually sit down on it, that pink stuff is perfect. It's like, obviously you're going to feel the bumps, but it's actually better, believe it or not, than this thick black stuff. I couldn't believe it. They, like, when you squeeze them with your fingers, they just feel about the same. Maybe the pink one might feel a tiny bit harder, but the density between the two of them is, when you sit on it, is like, there's no comparison. So the black stuff's coming off and the pink stuff is going on.